Hey everybody, it's Paul from Screenwriting Scribe. Welcome back to the channel. Now this week again, we're going to dive into the world of screenwriting as we tend to do. And we're going to discuss some common challenges that I think a lot of new writers face, because I used to face those as well too. Now don't worry, we've got your back, as we always try to do on this channel. And we're going to explore 5 major landmines that trip up budding new screenwriters. And we're also going to talk about solutions to help counteract them. So grab those pens and pencils, open up a new tab on your browser or on your Word document, and it's because it's time to enhance some of your screenwriting skills. So let's get started. Now, the first thing I want to talk about today is lack of structure. Now, lack of structure can be one of the most daunting things for new screenwriters. A lot of times we think we could just begin to write, and for some people this actually works well. They just write, they know how to write a beginning, middle, and end, and it just all comes together. For most people I know, if we don't have a plan, then things don't come together. Now think of a structure as the backbone of your screenplay. It's a framework upon which your entire story rests. Now without a solid structure, your script can feel disjointed and confusing. So how do you build a robust foundation for your story? First and foremost, we have to familiarize ourselves with the 3-act structure. Now before you get all worried and stuff like that, now the other thing, when you look at these structures and stuff, don't panic if you don't know these things. So I'm going to go through the first 3-act structure in one way, and then I'm going to break it down in a different way that I think might be even a little easier. Now, traditionally, when you hear 3-act structure, well, there's 3 acts. In the first act, you establish the world, you introduce your characters, and you set the story in motion. In Act 2, this is where the main conflict of the story unfolds, and your characters face challenges and obstacles. And finally, in Act 3, it brings around a resolution and concludes the stories. Now, another way to think of that, if you read the book Kill the Dog, Paul Geo talks about a wonderful way to think about this 3-act structure. Instead of Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, think of beginning, middle, and end. And basically, that's the same sort of thing. So don't get bogged down in the terminology. If you don't like the terms that I'm using, use something else. And know that as long as you figure out a nice story, your story is going to have a beginning, middle, and end. You're going to sort of introduce your characters and stuff like that. That's going to be the beginning. In the middle, the main conflict's going to happen. The princess needs to save the prince, or they need to slay the dragon, or who knows what they need to get the microfiche, or whatever the case may be. And finally, you have resolution. So that's basically the 3 parts. You just need to know that your story has a beginning, middle, and end. Take your favorite movies or TV shows and analyze them looking at the structure. I mean, pay attention to where the plot points occur. I mean, so you often hear in this type of jargon, especially for the 3-act structure, the inciting incident. So basically, what is it that, if you want to think of it in terms of a basic story, what happens to launch your character into the story that you want to tell? The inciting incident is that thing that takes them from the normal ways of their living their lives into something different. So what is that in your story? And again, you don't have to use this terminology if it makes you uncomfortable. Just know is what's happening. So the important part is just taking what's happening and changing that into something that's helpful for you. And the other thing I want you to realize about these terminologies and things like this too, this is not a hard and fast rule. There's no you need to have the inciting incident by page 10. You need to have the midpoint by page 55, and your climax doesn't have to appear on page 75. Don't worry about page counts for this. Again, you're telling a story. And these different think of these as story terms. Your inciting incident, again, is when does the story kick off? When does the character delve into this new direction that they're going into? So the midpoint is where everything changes. And so the character is, in some sense, very much in flux. Maybe where their home life is different, or maybe their professional life is different than before, and they can't go back to the way it is. And finally, you reach the end of the movie, or the climax, where the main conflict reaches its peak. Think again, if you like a Star Wars reference, that the Death Star is destroyed by Luke Skywalker. So you might be wondering yourself, how do you do this? And I'll give you a trick that I've learned through going through different courses and just writing on my own. The thing that helps me the most is outlining. It's your best friend when you're trying to tackle structure. So before you start writing your screenplay, create a detailed outline. And this outline can be any sorts of number of things. It could just be a set of note cards in a particular order. You could have the events written out, or a keyword written out per 5 pages, which is what I do. So every 5 pages, I write a keyword. And so I sort of know where the story is going. So as I'm writing out, I know that I need to end up at this particular point in 5 pages. So I think that really helps me. So the other benefits of having an outline, it helps you break down the major events. It helps you with character arcs. So if you know character A is supposed to be with character B and there's supposed to be character C, that messes things up. You can sort of figure out where that's going to land in your story. And it also is very good at helping you with figuring out key moments in your story. Having a roadmap not only keeps us on target, but also allows for creative exploration within a structured framework. So don't think of an outline as something like a straitjacket. I want you to look at an outline as sort of a pillar as you're building a building or a support for a bridge. I want you to see it as part of what's going to help you create the story. And the nice thing about the outline is if you don't like a certain piece, change it. You're not married to this particular outline. Do what you feel is going to help you. So my last thoughts about structure is, again, it's a piece to help us create stuff. Don't use it as a prison to have you locked into certain things. Like I was telling you before, don't use it to say, well, I need to have the inciting incident on this page, or I need the midpoint to hit this page. It's supposed to help guide you to tell the story. It's supposed to help you say, okay, I want to make sure that I bring this out in this particular character. Or I want this event to happen. And it's supposed to help you guide you and help you place the pieces of your story so that's the most captivating for your audience. So remember to use structure as that. The structure, if it's not working for you, then don't use that particular point of structure. You don't need to use a 3-act structure. There's a lot of different other structure pieces out there. So find something that works for you and something that helps with your process, and just know there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's not one correct way to do structure. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice. You need to have some type of structure, but don't be married to it. Again, let it help stimulate the creative process. Don't let it be a damper on your creative process. Our next piece is weak character development. Now, creating compelling and relatable characters is the heart and soul of a great screenplay. Now, weak character development can make your story feel shallow and uninteresting. How many times have we seen modern movies today, maybe like the Marvels, which are just coming out at the time of this video? How many of those characters are really interesting? For a lot of us, they're really not. So how do you breathe life into your characters and make them memorable to your audience? Now, first and foremost, your characters should be multidimensional, meaning they should have strengths and weaknesses. This is one of the things that's wrong with modern movies nowadays, is all of our heroes do not have any weaknesses. They should have weaknesses. Characters need to have weaknesses. They need to have desires, and they need to have fears, just like real people. This is why multi-dimensional characters are so relatable, because they remind us of us, and that's what we need. Just like real people, they need to evolve through the story. Start by delving into their backgrounds, their upbringing, their experiences, and defining moments. Understand their history will inform their actions and reactions to the present. This is one of the things that's going to help you write your story. When you have a character and you ask, well, how are they going to act during this situation? And you can say, hey, based on who they are and how I imagine them, this is how they're going to react. And it's going to help make the scenes come out that much better. And speaking of that, every character should have a unique voice and perspective. Avoid stereotypes and cliches, which we see so often in movies nowadays. Give them instead distinct speech patterns, mannerisms, and quirks that set them apart. Think about what makes each character tick, what makes them laugh or cry, what they love and what they despise. These details add depth and authenticity to your characters, making them more relatable to your audience. And consider this. What is their motivations and goals? What do they want more than anything in the world? What are they willing to achieve? Conflicting motivations between characters can lead to compelling drama and tension. Yes, when you have people conflicting, you have tension. Additionally, think about their relationship with other characters. How do they interact with their friends, their family, or even their enemies? Relationships shape who they are and how they change over the course of the story. Here's a pro tip for you. Let your characters surprise you. Sometimes the best character moments come when you allow your creations to take on a life of their own. Be open to unexpected developments that can lead to some of the most authentic and touching moments of your screenplay. Now remember, the more time you take to invest in understanding your characters, the more your audience will invest in them as well too. So dig deep, Be curious and let your characters guide you through the fascinating journey of storytelling. With well-developed characters, your screenplay will resonate with viewers long after they leave the theater. Our third segment is Unfocused Dialogue. Now, dialogue is the heartbeat of your screenplay. It's through conversations that your characters reveal their personalities, their emotions, and thoughts. Now, unfocused dialogue can weaken the impact of your story. So, how do you ensure characters' words shine and resonate with your audience? First and foremost, listen to real conversation. Yes, I said that right. Listen to real conversations. Pay attention to how people talk. It sounds like a no-brainer. Be surprised how often we do not listen to other people. Listen for people in their choice of words, their pauses, their nuances, and their tone. Authentic dialogue mirrors real-life conversations. Practice active listening and observe the way people express themselves. This keen observation will help you infuse your character's speech with authenticity. Now, great dialogue often carries subtext. Characters don't always say exactly what they mean. Especially for new writers, we tend to do this. We tend to tell everything right on the nose. This is what on the nose means. You want to have your characters, again, let me repeat that line because it's important. Characters don't always say exactly what they mean. They might imply, they might dodge, or conceal their true feelings. Subtext adds depth and intrigue to your dialogue. Consider what lies beneath the surface of your character words. What are they really trying to convey? Subtle cues can convey a wealth of emotion without explicitly saying it. Now, another essential aspect of focused dialogue is purpose. Each line should serve a specific purpose, whether it's revealing a character trait, advancing the plot, or creating tension. Eliminate small talk and filter dialogue that doesn't contribute to the overall story. Every word your character speaks should move the narrative forward or deepen our understanding of the characters. Now, notice what I'm not saying in there. So you do not have to put the ums in your dialogue unless your character is really struggling to say something. And what you're doing, again, is then you're showing revealing a character trait. You're creating tension because they are trying to maybe ask a member of the opposite sex out and they want to do it, but they are stammering. And you're learning to see that they may not be as comfortable talking to people of the opposite gender or whoever they want to go out and date. Editing is your best friend when it comes to dialogue. A mantra that I have when I work on my dialogue is revise and refine each of my lines. Now, the easiest way to do that I have found is basically by reading my dialogue out loud to ensure it flows naturally. I ask myself, is this how a real person talks? Does it reveal anything meaningful about the character or the situation that I'm writing about? And don't be afraid to rewrite and polish your dialogue until it sparkles. You can that's the one thing about writing, especially when you're writing this first draft, is just know that you're going to be able to come back and polish it again and polish it again and polish it again until you get the words exactly to where you want them to be. Now, incorporating these techniques into your dialogue writing will elevate your screenplay and captivate your audience. Remember, each word spoken should have a purpose. Every silence should speak volumes. So embrace the power of focused dialogue and watch your characters come to life in ways that leave a lasting impression on your viewers. Our fourth segment is overcomplicated plot. And this is something I still struggle with. I'm trying to make sure my plots are simple and also that they're to the point. I think many times, especially as beginning writers, we tend to have these grandiose ideas and we can't simply lay them out. They're a little too grandiose. They don't always land the way they do. Creating a captivating plot is the backbone of any successful screenplay. However, us new writers often fall into the trap of overcomplicating their stories, making it difficult for the audience to follow along. So, how do you strike the right balance between complexity and clarity? First and foremost, identify your core story. What is the central theme or message you want to convey? Who is your main character? And what do they want more than anything else? Focus on this core narrative and build your plot around it. A strong central story acts as a guiding light, ensuring that your screenplay remains focused and purposeful. Now, simplicity is your ally when it comes to storytelling. Instead of judging multiple subplots and intricate twists, streamline your narrative. Choose one or two plot lines and develop them thoroughly. Avoid unnecessary complications that don't significantly contribute to the central story. A central and straightforward plot allows your audience to engage with the characters and their journey. Now, what I'm not saying in all of this is that you should never have a complicated story. This is more advice for new writers. I think when I think about this for folks, and I think of this also for myself at times too, is that I tend to, again, overcomplicate stuff. So how do I make sure to get the story that I need out? So as I get better at creating stories, I'll be able to have more complex plots. But for the first couple stories, let's make sure I can just get through the story, have it understandable, have a good plot, and just focus on all the basics. If you can have a story that works really well, even if it's an uncomplicated story, and you hit all the right notes, people are going to love the story, and people are going to coming back for more. You do not have to have a complex story in order to have people love your story, but you also don't have to have a simple story either. So just as a reminder, when you hear this advice, is just know that you can have complex stories, but as a beginning writer, think of just doing newer, easier, one or two types of main plot stories just until you get into the flow of writing. One thing to keep in mind is create strong cause and effect relationships between events. Each action should have a logical consequence propelling the story forward. If a subplot or character doesn't directly impact the main story or the protagonist's journey, consider whether it's essential. Every element in your screenplay should play a vital role in advancing the narrative. Again, this is sort of saying that if you have a wonderful side character, but if they don't really add anything to the story, as much as you like that character, maybe they are not good for this particular story. I would store them away and put them in a different set of notes. Hold on to the character. Don't let them go. But maybe at this particular point in time, they do not fit well into this story. Here's one of the things that I really struggle with. Visual storytelling is a powerful tool. Show, don't tell. Instead of explaining every detail through dialogue, use visuals to help convey information. We're in filmmaking. We see visuals, but so often we have so much exposition that it's like, why are we watching this? Why aren't we just reading this? And so actions, expressions, and visual cues can speak volumes. Why don't we use them? So try to remember to use that in your writing. Trust your audience to pick up on subtle hints and clues. Allow them to actively engage with your story by connecting the dots themselves. Not with you connecting the dots for them. Have them connect the dots. That makes the story even more powerful. Now remember, a well-told story doesn't need to be overly complex. By focusing on your core narrative, simplifying your plot, creating strong cause and effect relationships, and trusting in the intelligence of your audience, you can craft a screenplay that is both compelling and accessible. So embrace the beauty of simplicity and watch your story resonate with viewers in ways you could have never imagined. And again, this is beginning screenwriting advice. If you've written several scripts before, if you've written several stories before, feel free, have as complex of a idea as you like. But if you're just beginning, take it easy. Just get through the stories, have a number of stories underneath your belt, and then begin exploring, because it's going to make things easier to do. Segment 5, ignoring, rewriting, and feedback. Congratulations, you've completed your first draft. Now what? One of the most common pitfalls for new screenwriters is ignoring the essential steps of rewriting and feedback. Now, your first draft is just the beginning of the journey. It's not the end. You don't turn in your first draft to a script competition and stuff like that. You need to learn how to navigate the crucial process of refining your work. First and foremost, embrace the rewriting process. Writing, especially screenwriting, or any type of writing, I should say, writing is rewriting. Let me say that again because we all need to hear it. I need to hear this more than probably you guys do. Writing is rewriting. Take the time to step away from your script after completing the initial draft. Distance gives you a fresh perspective. When you return to your work, you spot inconsistencies, weak dialogue, and plot holes that were previously overlooked. Don't rush this stage. Allow yourself the freedom to reshape and refine your story. Now, equally important is seeking feedback from others. Your friends, writing group, or mentors can offer valuable insights that you might have missed. Constructive criticism is a gift. It helps you see your work from different angles. Now, be open to diverse opinions, but also trust your instincts. Use feedback as a tool to enhance your screenplay, not as a strict set of rules. I can't say that enough. Don't use the feedback as a strict set of rules. So one important aspect that I also want to bring up when you think of having someone else read your screenplay, just understand the people who are reading it. You know, if you have friends who are not writers, they're going to have different critiques from you than people who are writers, who are different than mentors as well too. So just be cognizant of the people you have reading your screenplay. Their feedback might be awesome, and other times it might not be as helpful as you like because they're not well versed in writing, or maybe they have a different agenda when it comes to looking at your screenplay. So just keep those in mind when you do get feedback from your friends. Now, when receiving feedback, look for patterns. If multiple reviewers point out similar issues, those are likely things that you need your attention. Now, don't be discouraged by criticism. View it as an opportunity to grow. Remember, even acclaimed writers undergo multiple revisions before reaching the final version of their work. It's a natural part of the creative process. I'm going to say that one more time because so often we think it's one and done with a draft. Most drafts, the screenplays that you see on screen are multiple drafts. So even acclaimed writers undergo multiple revisions before reaching the final version of their work. Again, it's a natural part of the creative process. Stay resilient and trust in your vision. Now, while feedback is invaluable, your unique voice and perspective are what make your screenplay special. Use feedback as a tool to refine your craft and strengthen your storytelling abilities. With each rewrite, you're one step closer to creating a screenplay that truly resonates with your audience. And just remember that it's a feedback process. And sometimes, if you don't like that particular feedback, ask yourself, what is it about the feedback that is not helpful? What is it about my stories that's not hitting that I was hoping that would hit? Now remember, writing is a journey of discovery and growth. Embrace the rewriting process, seek feedback, and never stop learning from your experience. Remember, your screenplay is a work in progress, and with each draft, it evolves into a masterpiece. So keep writing, keep revising, and keep believing in the power of your story. Happy writing. Hey, if you're new to my channel, my name is Paul from Screenwriting Scribe. My channel is focused on screenwriting in general as well as screenwriting software. So if you have any questions about either of the two, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. If you have any ideas for videos that you would like to see, most of my video ideas, this one that you're seeing today, actually came from a viewer. So if you have a video you'd like me to make, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I'd be happy to make one for you. I'll add it into my list. If you have any other questions, though, feel free to just send me a message. I'm normally pretty good at getting back to people. And as I said before, until the next time, live well and write well.